All right, I want to remind you of something before we get into to all of this about something that we probably learned and then forgot about in school. And I'll give that to you here in a second. But, liberals are freaking out. I mean, they freaked out over, J.D. Vance when he went to Europe and he said, look, you got to stand for freedom of speech. Wait until they read the Substack now from the State Department. This is something really, really amazing. Something remarkable is happening, and it's really happening at the last place I would expect it to happen, and that is the State Department, because that thing, oh my gosh, that has taken our country and steered it into the wrong direction for so long. And for the very first time in a very long time, the United States Department of State is speaking not like a globalist think tank, but actually as a sovereign nation that finally remembers what it's all about. And it's done it in just over 100 days. Marco Rubio is doing an incredible job, along with the president, on the State Department. We are no longer bowing to international consensus. We're not apologizing for American strength. We're not managing our own decline. Instead, we have clarity about who we are, what we'll defend, and what we will no longer tolerate. Now, think about this. Just a few months ago, we had a State Department that was all tangled up in woke ideology. We were outsourcing our American foreign policy to NGOs that were constantly undermining our values. We had a government that was handing out billions of dollars in aid while our borders were wide open and enemies like China were buying up influence in Panama, buying up farmland in Peoria. I mean, it was crazy, and that's all over now. Rubio has hit the brakes on the Belt and Road madness. We have now, did you know that we fixed Panama, the Panama Canal? He secured Panama's exit from Beijing's grip. He told Latin American leaders, you want a relationship with the U.S., then stop sending your people across the border and start taking responsibility. That's not a press release. This is leadership. And it's happening at the State Department. And most shockingly of all, I think he shut down the Global Engagement Center, that Orwellian outfit that was, masquerading as a disinformation watchdog, but was actually a censorship mill from the U.S. government. Gone. That alone, we should be give him a standing ovation for. Now, it's still the State Department, so, but you can feel the gears turning differently now. The agency is being gutted of its dead weight, of its activist layers. They're all being peeled back and rebuilt on this simple idea. The United States of America must speak clearly, act decisively, and defend its own citizens and values first. I mean, look what's happened. Terrorists? Yep, they're called terrorists. They're on the run. Cartels? Now designated as terrorist organizations. Watch what happens there. Visas for criminal aliens revoked. Students who abuse our generosity to promote jihadist propaganda, you're out. I mean, this is not just a shift in policy. It is a shift in philosophy. This is really good news. And what it is saying to the world is we are no longer confused on who we are. We're not here to play international babysitter. We're not here to sign treaties that handcuff our economy or finance global instability under the banner of aid anymore. We're here to defend American interest and nothing else. Now, you contrast that with the last few years, embassies flying the rainbow flags, Iranian proxies blowing up oil tankers, bent over backwards trying to, kiss the butt of Tehran. I mean, that chapter is over, and it couldn't have ended soon enough, but I can't believe that chapter is over. You have to read the Substack from the State Department. We are now saying loud and clear, America is no longer a doormat. America is no longer a cash machine. America is no longer ashamed. Yes, we've made mistakes, but you made them too. Now, is this making some foreign policy people very uncomfortable? Oh, yeah. The Davos crowd, they hate it. WEF, they hate it. The UN, oh, my gosh. The think tanks, they're screaming right now. And the New York Times is going to talk about tribalism and isolationism and authoritarianism. But you know what? That's how you know it's working. That's how you know we're on the right track. Because for once, we're not admiring the problems, we're solving them. And if this continues, we might just remember what it feels like to lead and be free again. I want to give you some. I want to give you some of the words that Rubio is releasing now under the Substack. You have to read some of it. It's amazing. Let me give you the latest. It was posted, I think, yesterday. It's the clash of civilizations. The need for civilizational allies in Europe. And it builds on what what J.D. Vance said when he was over in Germany. Look, guys, there are certain values that we can't abandon anymore. And there are two rules of thought here, and this is what we probably learned in school and then forgot. The clash of civilizations. This is a thesis that the people's cultural and religious identities will be the primary source of conflict in the post-Cold War world. This came from Sam Hutchinson. He was a political theorist and political scientist, and he argued the future would be fought not between countries, but between cultures. And I don't think we could really get our arms around that because the Western culture was winning. And it was proposed in 1992 at the American Enterprise Institute. And then in 1993, it was an article, and this is what gave birth to Francis Fukuyama's book, The End of History and the Last Man, where it was a completely different philosophy. And that's the one that the State Department and the rest of the world went with. What we're seeing actually is the clash of civilizations is right, that the Western way of life is under attack. And it's under attack internally and externally. Let me give you this because this is worth really listening to because this is a message that our State Department just sent to the rest of the world, and every American should know it as well. The need for civilizational allies in Europe. Let me read it verbatim here. The close relationship between the United States and Europe transcends geographic proximity and transactional politics. It represents a unique bond forged in a common culture, faith, familial ties, mutual assistance in times of strife, and above all, shared Western civilizational heritage. Our transatlantic partnership is underpinned by a rich Western tradition of natural law, virtue ethics, and national sovereignty. This tradition flows from Athens and Rome through medieval Christianity to English common law and ultimately to America's founding documents. Our Declaration's revolutionary assertion that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights echoes the thoughts of Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas and other European heavyweights who recognized that all men possess natural rights and that no government can deny or arbitrate any of those rights. America remains indebted to Europe for this intellectual and cultural legacy. This connection between Europe and the United States is also the reason that we now speak honestly when we disagree or have concerns, and it is why the Trump administration is sounding the alarm in Europe. You know, if their press hadn't made Donald Trump look like Hitler, this would be such a powerful message. Imagine being over in a country, you know, in the Netherlands or Germany or whatever, and you're seeing your country overrun and you're seeing your friends being called terrorists, exactly like what was happening here in America. And nobody on your side is standing up in Europe. There's no leadership. Listen to this. When Vice President Vance addressed this year's Munich Security Conference, he made the reason clear, stating, "What I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America." In the aftermath of two devastating world wars, European nations sought to prevent future catastrophes by creating supernatural structures that would bind nations closer together and allow for more substantial diplomatic and economic engagements. This is from the State Department. Proponents of this new order, including well-meaning Christian and pro-democracy parties, sought a grand transformation to a world that would transcend the divisiveness of nationality and creed to usher in an era of unprecedented peace. By overcoming the anchors of nationhood, culture, and tradition, global liberalism promised what Francis Fukuyama, famously called the end of history, the ultimate innovation of political life. Today, this promise lies in tatters. This is so important. Today, this promise lies in tatters. What endures instead is an aggressive campaign against Western civilization itself. Listen to that again. What endures is an aggressive campaign against Western civilization itself. Across Europe, governments have weaponized political institutions against their own citizens and against our shared heritage. Far from strengthening democratic principles, Europe has devolved into a hotbed of digital censorship, mass migration, restrictions on religious freedom, and numerous other assaults on democratic self-governance. These concerning trends have only increased in recent years. In the United Kingdom, police are arresting Christians for silently praying outside of an abortion clinic. In 2023, over 12,000 British citizens were arrested for online posts, including comments critical of Europe's migration crisis that authorities deemed to be grossly offensive. In Germany, the government has established elaborate systems to monitor and censor online speech under the guise of combating disinformation and presenting offense. When the German citizens express legitimate concerns about the economic and social impacts of globalization or criticize politicians, they now risk being fined, labeled as radicals, or even having homes raided by law enforcement. The European Union's Digital Service Act, billed to protect children from harmful online content, is instead being used to silence dissident voices through Orwellian content moderation. Independent regulators now police social media companies, including prominent American platforms like X, and threaten immense fines for non-compliance with their strict speech regulations. Let me continue what comes from our State Department here in just a second. It is a massive shift. Give me 60 seconds. You're going to understand, if you listen to the whole podcast today, you're going to understand why Lear Capital is so important. And I'm going to give you some things that you need to know and that you need to do, and some things that you need to probably call your senator and congressman on with this big, beautiful bill. The idea that we're going to raise the debt ceiling $4 trillion and we're not taking any cuts seriously is sending the exact wrong message, and you're about to feel it. You're about to feel it in a big way, unlike I think we've ever felt our debt ever before. So please do the things that you need to do to stay healthy financially. If you have saved and saved and saved for your retirement, I got news for you. Your dollar has lost half its value. It just won't buy the same things. I mean, I showed you this the other day. The gas price now is at what, $3.03? It was for the last weekend. It was the lowest price since 2002. But wait a minute, I don't remember prices being $3.03 in 2002. No, of course not. It was $1.50. So that just shows you inflation. What could buy a gallon of gas at $1.50 now is $3. But it's the same. You're making the same amount of money. It's just the prices have gone up. Okay, that's what's happening. You're not. If you have saved and saved and saved, if you are saving in dollars, you could be in real trouble. Please find out if gold or silver is right for you. I want you to go to Lear Capital. Lear Capital. Just call them at 800-957-GOLD. 800-957-GOLD. Do it now. 10 seconds, station ID. So Secretary Rubio is going on, and he talks about what's happening in Germany, what's happened in England, and then he says, Americans are familiar with these tactics. Indeed, a similar strategy of censorship, demonization, and bureaucratic weaponization was utilized against President Trump and all of his supporters. What this reveals is that the global liberal project is not enabling a flourishing of democracy. Rather, it is trampling our democracy and Western heritage along with it in the name of a decadent governing class afraid of its own people. Our concerns are not partisan, but principled. The suppression of speech, facilitation of mass migration, targeting of religious expression, and undermining of the electoral choice threatens the very foundation of the transatlantic partnership. Do you hear this? We are now putting Europe on notice. And good. This is critical that we do this. And you know what? If you're a Democrat, you would have been for this. You've changed. Okay, I've changed. I used to be for much more of this globalist crap. It's wrong. It doesn't work. Most likely, if you were a liberal, you were against it. You were against all these endless wars. What new information have you gotten that changes your point of view? I can tell you what information changed me from that globalist to somebody who is now looking at this and going, look, they're violating all of our constitutional rights. And both parties are engaged in it. One's worse than the other, but both parties are engaged in it. I can tell you why I changed. Why did you change? What new information took you away from those eternal truths? Anyway, a Europe that replaces its spiritual and cultural roots, that treats traditional values as dangerous relics, and that centralizes power in unaccountable institutions is a Europe less capable of standing firm against external threats and internal decay. To this end, achieving peace in Europe and around the world requires not a rejection of our shared cultural heritage, but a renewal of it. Secretary Rubio has made it clear the State Department will always act in America's national interest. Europe's democratic backsliding not only impacts European citizens, but increasingly affects American security and economic ties, along with free speech rights of American citizens and companies. Now, our hope is that both Europe and the United States can recommit to our Western heritage, and that European nations will end the weaponization of government against those seeking to defend it. We will not always agree on scope and tactics, but tangible actions by European governments to guarantee protection for political and religious speech, secure borders, and fair elections would serve as welcome steps forward. The United States remains committed to a strong partnership with Europe and working together on shared foreign policy goals. However, this partnership must be founded upon our shared heritage rather than globalist conformity. Our relationship is too important, our history is too valuable, and the international stakes are too high to allow this partnership to be undermined. Therefore, on both sides of the Atlantic, we must preserve the goods of our common culture, ensuring that Western civilization remains a source of virtue, of freedom, and human flourishing for generations to come. That came from our State Department. You have got to check out what Rubio and the State Department are doing on their new Substack. You can follow them on X, or just go to the State Department. We are sending strong messages and actually standing up for our values.
Glenn Beck.
That is new and exciting. All right, everybody into a steak and think, wow, this tastes like it was raised by communists. Yeah. I mean, you can tell. It's a communist steak. You can tell it, okay? You want real American meat. Real American meat. I'm talking about Good Ranchers here, meat that is born, raised, and harvested and shipped right here in the U.S. by actual ranchers who don't need a glossy marketing campaign because their product speaks fluent delicious, all right? While other companies are busy importing meat from God only knows where, Good Ranchers is supporting the American farmers and the ranchers who still believe in early mornings, honest work, and beef that tastes like freedom. And it's not just good for your taste buds, it's good for the country. We must support our ranches and our farmers. Every box you buy is a vote for American agriculture against mystery meat with a passport. Right now, when you subscribe, they're offering free meat for life. Choose from ground beef, wild-caught salmon, bacon, or seed oil-free chicken nuggets. You'll get that bonus in every box for as long as you're subscribed. Go to goodranchers.com. Use the promo code BECK. Unlock your free meat for life. Goodranchers.com. Promo code BECK.
Go to glennbeck.com and sign up for the free email newsletter. It's at glennbeck.com.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck Program. It's Thursday. There's a lot going on. You know, I was haunted by something we talked about yesterday, this Whoopi Goldberg clip where she was like, you know, they were talking about, the original Sin book and why we need to know, who was actually running the White House. And she said, what difference does it make now? Oh, my gosh, you were so stupid. I have a really hard time being nice. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Jesus wouldn't have said that, but Jesus wasn't around with Whoopi Goldberg. Anyway, I want to just set this next story up with this. Does the truth matter? Okay. I asked Grok this morning, why does truth matter in a civilization? I want you to listen to its answer. Because truth is the foundation of trust, justice, and progress. Now, let's see if you can check any of these boxes. Without truth, societies fall into confusion, yep, corruption, yep, and conflict, yep. Shared values enable informed decisions, not happening, accountability, not happening, and cooperation, not happening. When truth is devalued, manipulation thrives, yep, and institutions collapse, yep. So, Whoopi, that's why the truth matters, okay? That's why we have to solve things, which brings me to another story that is breaking today and was out yesterday, the newly declassified FBI document that Nellie Orr, do you remember her name? She was up on our chalkboard for a very long time, her and her husband. She was the contractor for Fusion GPS, the firm that was hired by the Clinton campaign to dig up opposition research on Donald Trump. Now it shows in a newly declassified documents that she likely lied to Congress. Well, I am just shocked. Well, I think I have a case of the vapors after hearing that. She denied knowledge of the Justice Department's Russia investigation. She distanced herself from the creation of the Steele dossier. She downplayed her interactions with federal officials, but the FBI's own internal analysis contradicts all of her sworn testimony. Okay? So we've had this for a while, but the Justice Department didn't do anything. I mean, this is not speculation. This is documented. An analytical error in the Steele dossier matched the one found in her own research. So how did that happen? Is that just a wild coincidence? Emails also showed awareness of ongoing investigations. She handed her DOJ-connected husband, Bruce Orr, a thumb drive of all of the research that fed directly into the FBI's Trump-Russia probe. The Bureau identified multiple times when she gave false testimony. So we've known this for a while. The classified documents were declassified. We've known this for a while. All of this was up at the DOJ. No charges, no accountability, absolutely no consequences on any of it. Does the truth matter? Yes. Why? Because civilization is built on the truth, and without it, everything begins to collapse. So the Department of Justice handed a criminal referral. They did nothing. The FBI itself acknowledged the likelihood of perjury there and yet didn't do anything. So is that justice? Is that justice or is that a cover-up? It's the same DOJ that launched an aggressive, sweeping investigation into Donald Trump based on the Steele dossier, which we know now was completely bogus. And the investigation proved ultimately nothing. And then they turned a blind eye to those who created and promoted that dossier under false pretenses. The same agency that surveilled American citizens now refuses to prosecute its own. Bruce Orr, her husband, was a senior Justice Department official, maintained an official back channel with Christopher Steele, even as the FBI said he's not credible, and cut ties with him for unauthorized leaks. That was in 2016. He was in his position still at the Justice Department in 2020. Nellie Orr, meanwhile, told Congress she took a ham radio class before her employment with Fusion GPS. Why? Why is that important? What? Oh, now they want to know if she took a ham radio class. Oh, it's her hobby. Is it? Consider that ham radio provides a way to communicate internationally without leaving any digital traces. Records show she took those classes during her time at Fusion GPS, something she said the opposite of. This is not incompetence. This is obstruction. Here's the point that has to be made for anybody who says, it doesn't matter. There was a time when American justice was the envy of the rest of the world. And not because it was perfect. It wasn't. It was horrible. But for the most part, it was incorruptible. Courts could not be purchased. The truth did matter. The law applied equally. Again, I'm not saying this was forever, and I'm not saying it was applied equally, especially in the South. We know all of those problems. But we were trying to get better at that. We weren't rejecting the whole thing. We were saying, this is what JFK came in and did, and RFK. No. We see what's going on down there, and that's against the Constitution. And so the federal government will step in and correct that, because the foundation, the principles of blind justice is the foundation that separated us from the regimes that where the power dictated the outcomes, and the powerful always walked free. It didn't happen here in America, but that foundation is cracking badly. And justice in America cannot survive if lying under oath, manipulating intelligence, politicizing federal power are tolerated when it's done by the right people. The justice system does not exist to protect a narrative. It exists to uphold the law, and without any accountability, there is no justice, and without justice, there is no republic. This is why the truth matters. This is why we must still pay attention to these things and punish the people who did the wrong things, and I don't care who they voted for or what they believed in. If they did wrong, they should be punished after a free and fair trial where the judges are not corrupt, where the judges aren't bought off to some political theory, but they are beholden to the Constitution. And the reason why I bring this up is because, we spent a lot of time with the Orrs, and they spent a lot of time on our chalkboard, because they were very involved in the corruption there. But it matters also, I bring it up now and use them as an example because it's not isolated. Okay, these two are just symptoms of a much deeper problem, a dual system of justice, where your political affiliation or the courtroom you're in because of the judge's political affiliation determines the outcome. This is not lawful, it's not sustainable, and it is definitely not American. And to use the language of the left, this is a danger to our democracy. Justice must return, and it has to return through fair trials based on facts. Those in government, especially those embedded deep within its institutions, who broke the law, who lied, who covered up their actions, must be prosecuted with the full force of the law. No exceptions, no delays, no deals. And you'll say, well, Hillary Clinton got away with it. Yeah, she did. And I don't think we're ever going to go after her, and that's wrong. We should. No matter who they are, no matter what walk of life or social status they're in, everyone should be under the same law. But you can start here, because if you send a very strong message to the people who are in the government, when people like Hillary Clinton come to them and say, hey, just do this and don't worry, you're going to be protected. No, Madam Secretary, I won't be protected. You apparently will be, but I'm not doing your dirty work. You want to do it, you do it. I'm not involved. That is what has to happen. No exceptions, no delays, no deals. And if it doesn't happen, we are going to slide into the same kind of corrupt system and decay that defines every third-rate government all around the world, where courts are all for sale, the laws are just for their enemies, and the power protects itself. Do you want to live in that kind of an America? I do not. So you may not like the other side, you may not like the person you didn't vote for, but can we moor ourselves in values and principles again? This is what Marco Rubio was doing with the State Department, and it is right. Can we root ourselves in principles and forget about politics for at least a little while? This is not about an enemies list. This is about the last line of defense. Because that's what justice is. It's not a principle. It's the last line of defense. And if it fails, everything else will fail. So we got to find a way to each other and stand up for justice, real, blind justice again. It's what we fought for. It's what Martin Luther King died for. It's what we've always said. Yeah, okay, all right. You're right. It's bad. It's an injustice. There is an injustice everywhere, right? We have to fix that. Now what you're being told is scrap the entire system. No, fix it. And it is fixable. It's not that complex. You want to fix the justice system? Easy. Stop playing politics with the truth. The truth is the truth. It doesn't matter who said it. It doesn't matter how it all unfolded because they were voting this way and they voted that way. No, it's the truth. No matter who did it. If we can get back there, we will do our country and our children and our children's children a giant favor, because we'll be able to hand over to them a stable country. And isn't that what we all want? I mean, the left always says, Hamas mothers, they want the same thing that every mother wants. No, they don't. Hamas mothers, not Palestinian mothers, blanketly, Hamas mothers, Islamist mothers, want their sons to die in jihad. Okay. I'm not expecting everybody to jump on the bandwagon with all mothers just want their kids to live in peace and grow and prosper. Nope, some don't. But do you still feel that way? Do you still feel that, forget politics. I wish all these politicians would be sucked up into a giant tornado in the sky, because it's politics that's killing us. But if we can just find our way to each other, back to our principles, we'll make it. All right, back in just a second. Let me tell you about Cozy Earth. I mean, Stu, is any of this stuff helpful? I thought about this before I went on the air, and I was putting the show together today, and now I just thought about it again at the end of that. I'm like, I don't know if that's anything you need as a listener, and I try really hard not to waste your time. But
Glenn,
I have no idea sometimes.
People totally need comfortable sheets. I don't know why you'd even hesitate about that. They love comfortable.
All right, so let me go on about Cozy Earth, you jerk. There comes a point in a man's life, usually right after he makes the, who took the remote noise after just standing up, when he realizes that comfort isn't a luxury, it's survival, damn it. And that's why there's Cozy Earth. I don't know how they do it, but they've managed to turn bed sheets, loungewear, even a robe into something that feels like you bribed a cloud to hug you for 8 hours. But Father's Day is right around the corner, and this is your chance to upgrade dad from a man who falls asleep in the recliner watching history documentaries to sleeping legend, okay? Wrapped in temperature-regulating comfort. And that's important. And yes, my wife wears their pajamas all the time, and no, I don't care who knows it. I wear their pajamas. I have a hard time not changing into my pajamas at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's not because I'm getting old and I have to go to bed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It is because they're so comfortable. It's loungewear. This is Cozy Earth. Oprah's one of their favorite things for 4 years in a row. And I'm telling you, it's true what they say. Even a stop clock is, right, twice a day. Or at least they're right when they're talking about comfort and luxury. Cozy Earth. It's one of my favorite things as well. Comfort is the gift that keeps on snoozing. CozyEarth.com. CozyEarth.com. Use the promo code Beck. Get up to 40% off for Father's Day right now. CozyEarth.com. Promo code Beck.
You ever seen a liberal's hands? Smoother than a snake on oil. Guess they're more worried about the meaning of the word retarded than the word work. Glenn Beck will be right back.
As a dad, I can tell you what dads want for Father's Day. It's right here in this box right here. It is cookies, okay? Awesome cookies. The best cookies you can buy. What we really want is the most indulgent experience you can have without committing a grievous sin. And if you know that line, you know who wrote it. It had to be Pat Gray. Only Pat Gray could write that line. We're talking about the Father's Day box from Kexi. This is a company we've talked to you about forever. This is the easiest endorsement I've ever had to do in my entire life because not only do I love these cookies, I've been eating them constantly for years and years and years and years. The origin of this company, at least in my mind, is because Pat used to bring in these cookies just for random holidays and Christmas, here's some M&M cookies my wife made. And I would be like, you have to sell these things. That's how I believe the company started. I will tell you, these are the best cookies you're going to find anywhere. And this box is awesome. It's very nicely done. It's a great gift for anyone if anyone's never had these cookies before, they're going to love you if you get them Kexi cookies. So let me tell you what to do. Go to Kexi.com. It's KEKSI.com. If you use the code STU15, there's a special Blaze listener discount. KEKSI.com. The code is STU15. I've been raving about these things for years. Glenn raves about them. Everyone around here loves them. Everyone who's ever had them loves them. Kexi.com. The code is STU15.
All right, welcome to the program. Yesterday I talked about why the president and Congress cannot cut quickly out of our budget, but that does not mean a $4 trillion new debt ceiling. That's insanity. And they have to cut. And there's some really good news. Unfortunately, the politicians are only doing it because of politics. They want Elon Musk's money. It's so grotesque. Is there anyone with an ounce of dignity left in Washington? Yeah, and the answer is yes, there's a few of them. But a few of them. We have to understand the place that we are in history right now with the debt ceiling. And I'm going to explain what all of this means. I read something from Goldman Sachs, an advisor at Goldman Sachs yesterday afternoon, and I saw that and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not good if I understand it correctly. I did some homework on it. I do understand it correctly, and I'm going to explain it to you because my grandfather used to always say, what do the rich people know back in the 1930s before the Depression? What did they know that we didn't know? Well, I'm going to give you that information next. Stand by.
This is Glenn Beck.